There are thousands of ISPs just in this country alone. So the question is, could you actually even corral all of them as a government body if you wanted to? The truth is, we don't really know what the government's capabilities are on this front. You know, and we can get into whether they would even need to. But this is the truth is that they view a pretty long-standing precedent. The government is able to declare, again, under law from 1934, that has been, if anything, re-upped and expanded. It has not contracted in any way, shape, or form to control communications in the event of a crisis. It is there.
Is it that dangerous, though? You know, we interrupt this broadcast to bring you the shocking news that aliens have landed at the White House and hide under your beds. I mean, we see this in movies. We see it when we're, you know, up late watching BBC's Doc Martin, and then all of a sudden there's the beeping noise on your television telling you it's being interrupted by emergency broadcasting services. How different is this from that, which we pretty much sort of accept as part of, you know, being a citizen and being aware of what's going on? It
sets a precedent. Although, Star, I could tell you didn't think that it was necessary for them to control all internet providers at one time.
Well, because technology has expanded to where we need less control over government. You get into a scenario where we're all listening to the radio and/or we're all watching for breaking news at the same time. That's very different from everybody everywhere on their internet. Now, I think that there should be major concerns. When you mentioned Tunisia, we saw the government attempt to shut down communication. It's not about them getting a message to us. It's about them shutting us out of communicating with each other. And I think that it's a legitimate concern.
That's right.
The Homeland Security has too much power now, and for the president to go around the people with an executive order, we should be concerned.
That's a huge difference, the EBS breaking in or a pop-up on the internet versus controlling the internet.
Right.
There's a huge difference between the government saying we have to break in here for your safety and then saying we're going to block you from communicating with one another.
So it's like the technology is one way versus
two-way? Well, there's a pop-up ad from the government, an EBS version of a pop-up ad, and the government saying now you're blocked from going on Google and searching something. In the Roosevelt administration, James Lawrence Fly was the director of the FCC. He left the FCC for the ACLU when he was ordered to work with the FBI and provide, they had live wiretapping of all telephone calls traveling from the United States to Germany, France, Italy, and occupied territories. They were listening live. This came up during the Patriot Act debates where they used that as precedent to say, we've already done this before. This has been done before in this country during World War II. We just have a way more romantic version of it when Roosevelt does it. But to her point, there's a huge difference between breaking in communications and breaking off our communications.
Well, if you can prioritize, again, going back to FDR, they regulated this communication under the Interstate Commerce Clause. And we've seen regulation can be kind of a malleable concept. If you can prioritize, I would think you could stop with the idea that you have to keep the radios clear because you may decide you want a future message. So it's not difficult to foresee a situation in which the government during an emergency could, under this power, just cut off communications or, again, put whatever communications they want on the air. But there's also an issue here, I think, of precedent. Because this, and again, this brings us back to what the Electronic Privacy Information Center had to say about this. This is something that the Congress should be looking at because it pushes very deeply into privatized networks. And in fact, Rand and Ron Paul, together, the dynamic duo of libertarianism, released a manifesto, I think it was just in the past couple of weeks, actually, and dealing very much with this. They said technology revolutionaries succeed because of a decentralized nature of the internet which defies government control. So there's clearly a tension at work here. And once you've established as a matter of executive authority in this case, but again, it kind of exists in parallel under federal statute that has not been successfully overturned or challenged, you have a situation where the government can make a decision based upon discretion. What's an emergency, and have complete control over interstate, which is everything now because of the internet communications.
That's the point I want to press you on, that discretion of what's an emergency. The fact of whatever is a priority versus cutting you off is not the only nebulous concept in this executive order. It's also what is an emergency. So let me ask you this, Buck. Going back to the 30s or the 80s, the extension of what have been previous executive orders, do we have any idea of really what qualifies as an emergency?
Well, you would hope that the government would limit it to the most dire circumstances. And again, they specifically cite the 1984 continuity of operations, which had to do with a major nuclear strike, our first strike from the Soviet Union against the United States. The idea being we need control of communications so we can lob some missiles back if they go at us first. But you could also see how this could just sort of creep, how this could expand, how over time the government could try to do more with this.
The government is already doing much through this Homeland Security initiative that they have in the country. And when you talk about what information they can send out that we can't get ourselves. This is why we should be contracting the government, not expanding their role with technology, because on the internet, we will find out if we are nuclear hit probably before they do. Government moves very slowly. People move very fast.